Hello children, welcome to our English class. Today we are going to learn something new that is very interesting and that can be practiced in your regular day-to-day situations. So before entering the class, just have a look at this picture. Children, do you identify this man? Yes, definitely. He is well known and is a very famous man, a great person. Dear children, you simply say he is none other than Mahatma Gandhi. Do you know about Gandhi? Yes, he is a great freedom fighter. My dear children, he looks very lean, but he is a great fighter. He led the movement, the freedom movement. He is a role model to many and is a great fighter. Though he looks physically weak, he is very strong mentally and he is a finder of many movements. And as a great man, he influenced the entire nation with his great steps. My dear children, now look at this picture. Can you identify this man? Yes, definitely. He is Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Yes, founder of Azad Hind Fauj, Indian National Army, and strong fighter who believed in morals. And as a man, he is quite opposite to Mahatma Gandhi. Where Gandhi followed his path, that is non-violence, and Subhash Chandra Bose is a man of violence. So he has his own way in fighting for the freedom, and Gandhiji has his other way in bringing it. Now children, let's look at this visual. Can you identify this man? Yes, the Black Star. He is none other than Nelson Mandela. Children, we know a lot about Nelson Mandela, the man who fought for his people, the man who fought for his country. That's why he became very famous and a great leader. Now children, let's have another look at all these three visuals: Gandhiji, Netaji, and Mandela. Children, this is the question which I want to ask you. Are there any similarities in the lives of these great people? We don't want to mention, but there are so many leaders who led their so many movements for their country and for the sake of their people. Children, Gandhiji, Netaji, Mandela, all these people are great personalities, historical leaders. They have their own mottos, they have their own identities, they have their own paths in bringing something for their country. Now children, Gandhi fought at his level best. Subhash Chandra Bose also did his level best, as Mandela did. Now children, we definitely say that we are going to learn something new, that we are going to learn new about the lesson, that is their fighting, their freedom, and the way they fought for their country and for their people. Now, children, do you identify this flag? To which country this flag belongs to? Very beautiful, a red, green, blue, orange, all these colors, yellow, very attractive flag. Yes, there you are. You can definitely say the flag belongs to South Africa. Yes, he is the man belongs to South Africa. Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. Children, in his biography, Mandela told that we all know him that as Mandela, but his earlier name before Mandela, that was Rolihlahla, that was given by his grandfathers and great grandfathers. But before it, we have Nelson Mandela, Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. So Nelson was actually not his name. He said about his name and how strange it was given. And when he was in school, there was a teacher. In those days, when he was studying in a school, his teachers almost all from the British. So their native place or their native language or their native names are different from the names we have, as the names the Britishers have. So to identify a particular person, as the teacher was unable to pronounce the names of South Africans, the teacher used to give some strange names to the children. So the children are also habituated to respond accordingly. So that teacher, actually Rolihlahla means a troublemaker. Maybe Mandela may be a troublemaker. Yes, when he was a child, like you people, maybe he might be naughty. But Nelson was the name which was given by his teacher, but the reason Mandela did not know. In his story, it was written why the name was, particular name Nelson was given to him by that teacher. So Nelson Mandela was a great man, a great freedom fighter who led the fight right from the front. As he was a leader, he has to sacrifice so many things. Now children, today we are going to learn our lesson, that is a long walk to freedom. My dear children, now I read a paragraph from this lesson, a long walk to freedom. In life, every man has twin obligations. Obligations to his family, to his parents, to his wife and children, and he has an obligation to his people, his country and his community. In a civil and humane society, each man is able to fulfill those obligations according to his own inclinations and abilities. But in a country like South Africa, it was almost impossible for a man of my birth and color to fulfill both of those obligations. In South Africa, a man of color who attempted to live as a human being was punished and isolated. In South Africa, a man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people was inevitably ripped from his family and his home and was forced to live a life apart, a twilight existence of secrecy and rebellion. I did not in the beginning choose to place my people above my family, but in attempting to serve my people, I found that I was prevented from fulfilling my obligations as a son, a brother, a father and a husband. Now children, so this is a beautiful paragraph from the lesson A Long Walk to Freedom. Now we have some difficult words and their meanings under the section of glossary. So now we come across some difficult words in our lesson, that is obligation, meaning is duty or responsibility that is to be fulfilled. And next, inclination, a feeling that makes us to do something, that is motivation or strong urge we can say. And next one, inevitable, certainly to happen or unavoidable. And next, to light, uncertainty, unclear. And next one is a rebellion and opposition to authority, that is somewhat we say a revolutionary. Now children, so we have learned a paragraph from A Long Walk to Freedom. Yes, Mandela had a long walk. Yes, he has to face so many difficulties and so many hurdles in his life, in his way back to the freedom, bringing the freedom and liberate his country. Now, so to have a better understanding regarding this paragraph, the way is to comprehend the paragraph. Now children, let's comprehend this paragraph in detail. Then we discuss the things. Yes. How many obligations do we have? Yes, it is given in the paragraph a particular word, obligations, and as we mentioned, obligations means duties or responsibilities. How many obligations do we have? Yes, regarding me children, I have the first and foremost obligation, that is I have to perform my duty as a teacher. That is my first obligation. And next, as my obligation is I am a family man, I have to perform some duties as a family man, as a parent, as a father and as a husband. And what about you? You are children. You too have so many obligations, and first and foremost is, so you have to perform your duty as a student. So the first obligation of you is studying first, and everything comes next. So that may be your obligation, that should be. And maybe you may have some obligations, some duties to perform. Those are to assist your parents, to help your mother in household work, and to help your father and be responsible. So these are some of your obligations. Now let's go to another question. Yes, the first one is the answer. 1, 2, 3 maybe obligations or choices according to his or your or my own mentality. And next question is, how many obligations does Mandela have? Okay children, how many obligations does Mandela have? Yes, Mandela, according to our paragraph, it is given, we can easily identify Mandela has some obligations. Yes, it is mentioned already, we have gone through the paragraph. Yes, see, Mandela has in the beginning 2 obligations according to him, that is family. You can see at your left the picture of Mandela with his family, a photograph, and to your right the nation, the people to whom he represents, that is the race of black people he represents. So in his mind as a child he has 2 obligations. As he was young, when he was young, he has 2 obligations in his mind. Those are, first of all, whether to give importance to the family or to give importance to the nation. So according to his own mentality, Mandela has 2 obligations. He wanted to serve his family and he wanted to serve his people. Now, next visual. Yes, Mandela has 2 obligations. Now children, another question, that is it possible to fulfill our own obligations? Yes children, as we have learnt already, as a student you have some obligations, as a teacher I have some obligations. Now, is it possible to fulfill our own obligations? Can we fulfill our obligations? I am a teacher, my duty is to teach in a better way, to make my students good citizens. That's my obligation. Yes, I can fulfill my obligation because I strive for my duty. You can fulfill your obligations because you are good students, and there are no forces upon you and me in your and my professions. So we can easily fulfill our own obligations. You can study as you like, you can become as you want, and wherever you are, whatever it is, whatever the obligation is, you can easily perform because there are no restrictions from your elders and your teachers. But be responsible. And next, yes, we are living in a civil society. That is the answer. Living in a civil society, a free society, a democratic society, it is possible. But was it possible in Mandela's case? A good question. Was it possible in Mandela's case? Fulfilling the obligations is the first and most important point regarding the life of Nelson Mandela. Yes, could he fulfill the obligations? As we learned, Mandela has two obligations in his life. That is, whether to prefer his family or to prefer the nation. These are the two obligations. Yes, but we know that he fulfilled his duty, or which was given priority, which was given most importance. And as a family man or as a country, as a person who belongs to country. Yes, because he could not fulfill his obligations. Why? The question says, how was the condition of the black people then? What was the condition and how was the condition of the black people? So, we know that in South Africa there is a discrimination, that is a racial discrimination, the black and the white. The white are supposed to be superior, whereas the black are inferior. The black are oppressed, they were downtrodden. So that was the condition. So Mandela belongs to a black family. So that's why that was very difficult for him to fulfill the obligations. Children, look at this visual. Yes, here we find the black as well as the white. That is a particular term you may come across in your social studies, that is apartheid. The pronunciation is apartheid. Actually, yes, the white have always all smiles upon their faces and the black always very sad. That's very difficult because Mandela belongs to the family of black. So, as they were ruled by the white, Mandela first of all thought that he could prefer his family because he was a family man. As a brother, as a father, as a husband, he wanted to prefer at first to his family. He wanted to give importance to his family. That's why he was unable to connect his ideas, or he was unable to prefer the nation because it was not ruled by them. There was a strong discrimination, a strong downtrodden. That was the feeling. They were ruled, they were not properly ruled. So that was the difficult situation in the life of Nelson Mandela. Now children, Mandela was unable to perform because the black were isolated. If anybody like Mandela, whoever wants to be against the country, to be against the rulers, they were isolated, they were punished because they were oppressed. Then next question, what path did Mandela choose? Now children, this is the interesting question. What path did Mandela choose? We know from the paragraph that Mandela has two obligations and two choices before him. That is, choosing the nation or choosing his family. These are the two obligations. But first of all, as a man, he gave importance to his family because as he was young, he thought of his family, father, mother, brother, sister. So he started giving importance to it. And later he understood that country should be given prominent importance. That's why he gave importance to his nation. So next question. Yes, this is the answer. And in the beginning, he chose to fulfill his duty as a member of the family. Later, he preferred his country. So, he gave importance to his country next. Now, the question is, final one, if you were in Mandela's place, what would you prefer? My dear children, an open question for you. If you were in Mandela's place, what would you prefer? So, what is your preference? What is your importance? Yes, because we need not fight for the freedom. We are already free. We are already democratic. We are ruling ourselves. We are free birds. And we have no restrictions from outside. We have no objections from outside. We were not ruled by the others. So, we have been ruling, and we have been ruling by our own people. So, in Mandela's place, if you were in Mandela's place, what would you prefer? Yes, if before you lived in the era of before independence, what would you prefer? Like Gandhiji, like Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, like Sita Ram Raju, like Bhagat Singh, there are no restrictions from outside, but we have some other duties to perform. So, then what would you prefer? What is the importance? So, what is the prominence given by you? That is nothing but duty first and everything next. Okay, my dear children, duty first, everything next. Because Mandela preferred his country, Gandhiji preferred his country, Netaji preferred his country, and everything came next before them. So, as good students, as the generation of the future, I think you might be thinking about your future, thinking about good studies, thinking about good job, and thinking about a good human being. That may be you are. Okay, children. Now, let's go through some of the sentences which we came across in our lesson, in our paragraph. That is, the man of color who attempted to live as a human being was punished and isolated. Once again, the man of color who attempted to live as a human being was punished and isolated. And next visual, the man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people was inevitably ripped from his family. The man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people was inevitably ripped from his family. So, now children, these are the two sentences which we came across in the lesson. So, is there anything special regarding these two sentences? Can you find anything special in this sentence? Can you look at, could you look at the sentences which are underlined? In those sentences, the underlined part is who tried to fulfill his duty to his people. See, some part of the sentence is underlined in both the sentences. The underlined parts are different. We feel the difference by the parts of the underlined forms. Now, just we look at another visual. See, the underlined parts are called clauses. Okay, children, what is a clause? Clause is a group of phrases, words that has one subject and one predicate with complete or incomplete sense is called a clause. Children, a clause is nothing but a group of words, yes, that has one subject in it and one predicate. See, that may give the complete sense or it may not give a complete sense. So, with the help of both the sentences, the given sentences, we find that the sentences, some sentences give complete meaning and some of them give incomplete meaning. So, whatever it is, and what the clause gives some identification or some special meaning, it adds something to the subject. The subject may be noun or pronoun, whatever it is. And how many types of clauses are there? So we know clause has one subject and one predicate, and that gives a complete or incomplete sense. Depending on the meaning, basing on the meaning, clauses have two types. See, let's look at it. A clause is divided into two, that is main clause and subordinate clause. Okay, main clause is also called independent clause, and subordinate clause is also called dependent clause. So these are the two types of clauses. Okay, children. So main clause gives a complete sense, whereas a subordinate clause gives incomplete sense. Now, in the given sentences, and we can easily identify what the subject is, and we can easily identify what the clause is. See, before the beginning of the clause, we use some words. Okay, the man who tried, the man who is a pronoun. See, these clauses start with relative pronouns or relative adverbs. Relative pronouns are who, whom, which, that, what, whose. So these are the pronouns which help in identification of the clauses. And we use relative adverbs where and when. So these are the relative adverbs. These are used for identifying the places as well as the time. Children, relative pronouns. See, relative pronouns means the pronoun that relates the noun. Okay, that gives some importance or identification regarding the word comes before it. Here we used in the sentence who tried to fulfill. Okay, who is a relative pronoun, and whom, that's also a relative pronoun. See, both these pronouns are used, who and whom are used in identifying a person. And person means animate, has life, and which is also relative pronoun, and that, which and that. So which is used for things or animals, and that is also used for animate, inanimate. And what is for inanimate, and whose is the persons. And relative adverbs, where is used for place and when is used for time. So each and every relative clause starts with any of these words, maybe relative pronouns or relative adverbs, because that's why these are called adjectival clauses or defining relative clauses. Because adjective means, we know an adjective is a word that gives some importance, that gives some description regarding the noun or pronoun, that is called adjective. Now we say easily, that is define. Define means defining the word comes before it, whether it is a noun or pronoun. See, these words define. So that's why these clauses are called defining relative clauses or adjectival clauses. Now children, let's look at the man of color. Let's look at again the same slide. The man of color who attempted to live as a human being was punished and isolated. The man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people was inevitably ripped from his family. Now children, here who is the relative pronoun that defines the man, and who attempted to live as a human being, that is a clause. And you take in the second sentence, who again refers back the noun, the man. Who tried to fulfill his duty to his people, the entire underlined part is clause. So my dear children, I want to mention that the underlined parts in both the sentences are subordinate clauses, because subordinate clauses are the clauses which give incomplete meaning. As we learned from the division of a clause, a subordinate clause gives incomplete meaning. Here, who attempted to live as a human being, who tried to fulfill his duty to his people, both of these are subordinate clauses. So, these subordinate clauses are dependent because these depend on the main clause. What is the main clause there? The man of color was punished and isolated. The man was inevitably ripped from his family. So, these are the main clauses. So, these are the main clauses which are giving complete sense. Those are the subordinate clauses, underlined clauses, those give incomplete sense. So, these are connected with the relative pronouns who. Children, next go to the next visual. See, the underlined parts are very clearly given. Who attempted to live as a human being, and second one, who tried to fulfill his duty to his people. See, both of these are clauses. Those are defining relative clauses, or we can say adjectival clauses, because these are introduced by the relative pronouns who. At the same time, these are giving the additional information regarding the noun. At the same time, these are giving incomplete sense. So, these are called subordinate clauses and or relative clauses. Now, children, a small task for you. A girl was injured in the accident. See how better you understood? We can easily understand by combining the sentences. A girl was injured in the accident. She is in hospital now. Dear children, these are two independent sentences. Yes, two independent sentences. Those are to be connected with relative clauses. See, we have to make these two sentences into one. A girl was injured in the accident. She is in hospital now. And what could be the answer? Can you connect it? Yes. The girl who was injured in the accident is in hospital now. Children, the underlined part who was injured in the accident refers back to the girl. Okay, here we use the pronoun who refers to the girl. So, this is the defining relative clause. Who was injured in the accident is defining relative clause. Without that clause, we can't identify who the girl was. We can simply say the girl is in hospital now. Which girl is in hospital now? We can't say. Do you mean? So, the girl who was injured in the accident is in hospital now. Now, children, let's move on to next one. I travelled in a bus. It arrived from Pune. These are two independent sentences. I travelled in a bus. It arrived from Pune. So, both of these independent sentences, or it can be said, those can be said two main clauses. Okay. So, these ought to be connected with relative pronouns or relative adverbs, so that we can make a complete sense using a defining relative clause. Now, children, yes, this is the conjugation. The bus in which I travelled arrived from Pune. The underlined part in which I travelled is a clause, that is a subordinate clause. Without that clause, we can, if we read the sentence, the bus arrived from Pune. Which bus arrived from Pune? In which I travelled. So, the bus in which I travelled arrived from Pune. Which refers the bus. As we already mentioned, which is used for the things which have no life in them. So, the bus is the thing, so we used which. Now, children, let's have a look at this one. Now, children, before we conclude, we have a deep discussion regarding clauses. Those are main clause and subordinate clauses, and we have some command regarding relative pronouns or relative adverbs. So, these are helpful in learning something new or giving a good description regarding the things we come across. And I think you have already mentioned so many things that from the starting of the lesson, the way we spoke, the way in which we have learned, we have used a number of times the relative clauses. These clauses are helpful in adding some glamour to English. So, because as we know, grammar is a glamour to language. So, my dear children, this is going to be practiced. Just we come across only one paragraph of the lesson, but the entire paragraphs, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs, we have so many relative clauses. See, these relative clauses are very fruitful, very helpful, and very aggressive in making oneself. So, we can easily comprehend with the help of these relative clauses in regular classroom teaching or in regular general conversation. My dear children, I think the way we learned the class, see the way we learned the class, that is fruitful because of the relative clauses. That is, these relative clauses are quite helpful in regular classroom teaching as well as some of the tasks that is given by your teacher. See, now none other than these two examples, the bus in which I travelled arrived from Pune, or the girl who was injured in the accident is in hospital now. We can take some more examples. See, you are in the class, okay children, you are in the class, you are sitting in a room, okay. So, we can easily connect these sentences. The room in which you are sitting is comfortable. We simply say, you are sitting in a room, the room is comfortable. We easily say, the room in which you are sitting is comfortable. I am teaching in studio. I am in the room. The room in which I am sitting is very comfortable. Okay, my dear children, the room in which I am sitting is very comfortable. Here, which refers the room, and regarding you, the room, the class in which you are sitting is very comfortable. There also, which refers to the room. The subject which we are learning is English, which refers to English. So, we can easily make some other sentences regarding the relative clauses, that is, those are also called defining relative clauses or adjectival relative clauses, because these define or give some more information regarding the nouns before them. So, my dear children, I think this is understood to you very clearly. So, we have discussed so far regarding the people of great nation leaders, Gandhiji, Netaji, and Nelson Mandela, all these great people. So, that is why children, to make some more fruitful regarding your language, we are going to give you, I am going to give you some home task, and I hope you definitely come up with good results and good answers. That is, combine the sentences using relative pronouns or relative adverbs. So, we can use sometimes, as we mentioned, relative pronouns, pronouns for persons, adverbs for places. So, first one, you gave me a novel yesterday, it was very interesting. Second one, a boy is wearing a red shirt, he is my neighbor. And next one, I bought a car, it was very big. Tagore is a great poet, his poems are moving. He switched on the fan, we switched on the fan, it dried out our clothes. Children, this is the small home task for you. Okay, I hope you will definitely come up with good answers. But before conclusion, I have a small rhyme, or you may think small poem for you. Okay, so in this poem I used the relative clauses. Keep an eye on the relative clauses I used. Okay, now first I give you a small sentence. This is the way in which Gandhi brought freedom. This is the line for you. This is the way in which Gandhi brought freedom for us. And the next line, that is the way in which Mandela did it, because both of them fought for freedom. This is the way, this is the way, this is the way in which Gandhi brought us freedom. That is the way in which Mandela did it. Mandela did it, Gandhi got it. So, my dear children, you are the nation, you are the future. You are the nation, you are the future. You are the nation, you are the future, who have to shoulder responsibility. You are the future, you are the nation, you have to shoulder responsibility. Now children, I think you are going to shoulder the responsibility. Now the poem which I used, it has also relative class. Gandhi brought us freedom. Mandela brought the South Africans freedom, and you have to be responsible. You have to shoulder the country's responsibilities, because you are the young generation, you have so many things to do. So that's why in that poem I used the in which they fought, in which they got. Okay, and now in the last line also, you are the nation, you are the future. Who have to shoulder responsibility? Who means who refers back again to the same person, the noun. So my dear children, so we have learned so many things regarding Mandela, Gandhiji, Netaji, and all these people. Hope you enjoyed my teaching, and thank you very much.